gets fed. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and again jump into our keynote session. We're very fortunate to have with us to lead this session today Nicholas DeMeo, who's the Chief Information Officer at the Vista Clinical Laboratory. So a little information about Nicholas. Not only is he the Chief Information Officer at Vista Clinical Lab, but he's also the author of Cyber Defense, The Art of Forging a Sentinel. Nick has over 6 years of experience as a technology leader, specializing in strategic defense and human AI integration. His work really focuses on elevating that human element of security, so teaching defenders how to outthink adversaries through grit, strategy, psychological resilience. So I think this promises to be a pretty top-notch, excellent session. So as we continue to finish enjoying our lunch, please a warm welcome as we hand it over to Nick, who's going to take us through Forging a Sentinel, Strategic Thinking for Cyber Threats. Nicholas.
All right, so we're going to have some fun today, hopefully. Hopefully you'll find my PowerPoint slides quite different than you're accustomed to, and the point was to kind of have some fun and shine a different light on cybersecurity. Kind of take away from the tool-centric approach, and let's get focused on the human defender. So just a little something about myself. Obviously, I'm the Chief Information Officer at Vista, as Andrew stated. I'm also the CEO and founder of a new security startup called DeMeo Logic. And because I don't have enough time at my day job overseeing IT, cybersecurity, and our laboratory systems, I figured why not start up a second one? And as he mentioned, I am the author of Cyber Defense, The Art of Forging a Sentinel. Today is a huge part of my book because that has been my life's passion for the last few years. And I have decided to kind of put that at the forefront as I make my impression on the cybersecurity community. And something I do want to share is it's not easy for me. I hate telling my life stories or personal. I don't like to share it, but this book actually did not start at a computer. It didn't start in a server room. It did not start when I was in middle school disabling content filters and setting the home page on Netscape Navigator to inappropriate websites. That's not where it started at all. It actually started when I was a little kid at a baseball game. And I grew up in Detroit, and the Detroit Tigers put on this charity game against a semi-pro baseball team. And after they absolutely annihilated this semi-pro team, they did a home run derby. And at the time, my dad, as a side job, was a professional Blues Brother performer. And he was a superstar in Southeast Michigan. He did every festival there was. But what people didn't know is my dad actually played semi-pro baseball. Before he got injured and his shot at the pros was gone, he was a really good athlete. And so the Detroit Tigers were like, hey, let's let the semi-pro guys try to get some home runs. Of course, they were being super nice. Not a single player could hit the ball. It was sad. The crowd was quiet. Semi-pro player after semi-pro could not hit the ball once. And it was wild. So my dad was like, hey, let me give a shot. And they're like, yeah, no problem, Tony. Go up there and see what you got. And my dad goes up there. First pitch, he hits a home run. And the crowd went wild. The commentator was screaming so loud, the microphone cut out. And we just couldn't believe it. And the Detroit Tigers were having so much fun because they're like, look at all these semi-pro players, couldn't even hit the ball. And we got a guy singing Blues Brothers, came up here and just smacked a home run. And for my dad, even though wasn't a great relationship with him growing up, I just could only imagine how amazing that felt for him. Because he had a once-in-a-lifetime moment of something that he worked his whole life to do. And even though he thought he may have been robbed through an injury, he got to actually experience something once before his time was done. Before he got too old, he didn't die. But both my brothers, they were amazing athletes. When my brother hit a high school freshman, he was already setting high school records. He had scouts calling the phone every single night. And of course, he got in too much trouble because he's a moron. And that was gone. My cousin was #1 in the state of Michigan in hockey. The last time I spoke to him before he tragically died, he was at the Detroit Red Wings summer training camp. Everything going for him. Me, the athletic gene was taking a timeout when I was born. Because I am nothing like them when it comes to athleticism. I have to work twice as hard to be half as good. But that didn't stop me because I love hockey. I played every single day, all day. I even played in my room. I played in the basement. I broke windows. I didn't care. I was going to be a great hockey player. It didn't work out. But this actually what jump-started my cybersecurity career, believe it or not. Because when I got older and I got married, I joined a recreational hockey league. I thought, hey, I'm never too old to play hockey. And it was just for fun. I was the only one who took it seriously. And so my nickname was Angry Nick because I played like I was playing for the Stanley Cup every single game. But there was two guys that would show up, and they had their United States Olympic jerseys on. And these two individuals got to represent the United States in the Junior Olympics when they were teenagers. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And their home league was on Saturdays. And this league was invitation only. Like it didn't matter how much money you had, you could not play with them unless you got invited. And my goal was forget about anything else. I just wanted to get invited to the Saturday league. So that was my hockey goal. So I trained, I worked, I lost some weight, and I finally got invited. And I was like a kid on Christmas. I drove home, passed the speed limit, told my wife, like, you don't believe it, I got invited to the Saturday league. It's happening, you know? I couldn't sleep all night. I showed up like an hour and a half early for no reason. I drank 2 Red Bulls and a bag of chocolate donuts. And I was super jittery. I was definitely ready. And that was the first time I really understood what imposter syndrome was. Because I was like, what am I doing here? I'm about to get the floor wiped with me. I'm like, embarrassing. But I thought of when my dad watched semi-pro baseball players get embarrassed at a home run derby, but that didn't stop him from stepping up to the plate and swinging away. So I was like, well, I can't stop. And I ended up having the best game I've ever had in my life. It was so much fun. So after the game, I was like, hey, why did you guys invite me? Like, what was it about me that piqued you guys going, hey, let's invite Nick to the Saturday League? And they said, honestly, they're like, you make us sweat. They're like, when we're defending or anybody's defending us, they know that we're super good, and they give us tons of space. They let us do our little dangle moves. They let us score goals. Because in their minds, it's hopeless to defend against 2 guys that played in the Olympics. There's just no way you can stop them. So why even try, right? I don't have that level of intelligence. I'm like, my dad was always like, it doesn't matter how big they are. You don't back down from a fight. Even if you're going to lose, at least you'll lose and walk away with respect. So I gave it my all, no matter what. These were just 2 guys, and I was going to do everything I could from stopping them from scoring. And that hard work actually is what got me to a very talented league, even though I didn't have the talent. And that's what started my thing into cybersecurity, because if you think about nation-state actors, even on the ethical side of how brilliant a lot of people are that come up with these exploits, they engineer applications, security products, you might think like, oh man, if the guy wants to attack me, there's nothing I can do about it. And you kind of let those high technical or talent really start messing with your mind, and it kind of puts yourself in a lot of doubt where you feel like you're going to be ineffective towards them or defending against them. When in reality, hard work can make you an overachiever, and somebody with a lot of a talent who doesn't work hard at all become an underachiever. And today, we're going to focus on the psychology behind a human defender, not so much the technical tool side. Because really, when you go to defend a network, it starts up here first. And that's the most important piece. So let's get down to some business. So this is from the FBI. I really tried to get something more recent from the InfraGov portal, but I guess 2023 was all they had. But I really only show this because we already know the current threat, right? Internet scams are high, and we already know the number one is email phishing, vishing, social engineering attacks. And I'm just showing that it's not really going anywhere. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why is it no matter how much money we spend or how many tools we deploy, we could have so many agents on a computer, the computer can hardly even function anymore. But these numbers are staying constant or increasing. So I read this article to kind of dive into it. This is between TechTarget and actually Spectrum of all. I was like, Spectrum? They can't even get internet right. But I was like, you know what, let me check it out. Why not? I have some free time. And to my surprise, I saw this graph, and I was like, oh, wow, they actually did something right. And I think it's funny that in 2026, that people are still admitting that the number one issues they have with endpoint security is a misconfigured system. Even though no matter how many IT tools we deploy, we still got systems misconfigured. And it's like, how is that possible? How is a tool not detecting that? We still, number 2, we still don't have systems patches. Like, how are we still not able to automatically update computers? It's kind of wild. And then the next, misconfigured user permissions, open access, compliance drift. We all knew that one. Nobody wants to talk about GRC at work. Like, they just want to get paid. So, and this was the little icing on the cake. We can't not talk about AI, okay? Come on. Who do you think made the slides? Just kidding. So AI is obviously used by attackers. And really the only thing I want to touch on this is the fact that we all started out in some ways a script kiddie. We use open source tools. We popped open Kali Linux. We hit ipconfig. We're like, oh my God, I'm a hacker now. And that's how we got our start. And it took a long road to develop our skill set, our craft, and to become the cyber defenders we all are today. AI has allowed people now to skip those steps because it empowers a script kiddie to be a security engineer or software developer without really having much knowledge other than being able to type in what they want it to do. And because of that, that has made some of our security awareness training tactics completely obsolete. Right? When you're looking at an email, you're like, well, look for grammar mistakes, look for the tone, look for urgencies, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you can just take a whole bunch of emails and throw it into an LLM and be like, hey, can you write this email in the same tone as all my other emails? The person receiving it is going to be like, oh, this is definitely John Smith. I better pay that invoice or click that link, right? So they're very much more effective now from a social engineering perspective because a non-English speaking person can make a perfectly English written email or some type of engineering file to send to somebody and make it completely believable. On the other side of that, we have a skills gap, which is also crazy. What are you talking about? We've got like 10,000 cybersecurity certifications. How could we have a skills gap? And the fact of the matter is because we keep trying to approach the problem the same way as we traditionally always have. And to me, it never made sense to spend 6 months studying for a certification over spending 6 months trying to learn how to deploy an AI model or how to secure a network. To me, that is way more important than achieving a piece of paper. And what all this has pretty much combined into is what I call the tool trap. We're pretty much getting so invested in the tools that those tools are now dictating our strategy. We're leaving the basics, we're forgetting about fundamentals of security, and we're pretty much training tool supervisors. We want you to log into this cloud dashboard, and if there's any red, investigate. Well, what if it's green? Well, I guess you have nothing to do. And that's pretty much how we're training. And this has created a very reactive state in our cyber defenses, where we're waiting for something to happen before we take any action at all. But who cares? We can go on all day. Like, let's face it, we all lose sleep. CISO burnout was like 3 to 5 years. We all have drinking problems now, thanks CyberSecurity. We can go on all day, and I didn't bring you out of your office to get out of that work to talk about more problems when we already have our backs against the wall. So let's just play a game instead. How about that? Does that sound good? Awesome. So this game's going to be fun. It's going to be interactive. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to tell me the answer. But the most important thing is this game is not complicated. It's not complex. It's not a Security Plus certification exam. It's meant to be very simple and rudimentary on purpose. Because the point of it is not testing your knowledge, it's testing your mental state of how you can reach and retrieve that knowledge based on the conditions of your environment. What I mean that is how good can you take a test when you're uncomfortable? How many of you, show of hands, have taken a certification at home before? See quite a few homes. You know when you're going to take that test, you probably cleared out your day, you got your slippers, you got some comfortable setup, water, some snacks. You made sure you were completely set up for success. And there's no doubt you're passing the test, unless you just didn't prepare. Say you got a 95%. Well, let's take that same test, and instead of being prepared and relaxed and just chilling, this time you got a call from work. There was an emergency, so you had to rush into the office. Now you had to rush home. You hit traffic. You are stressed out of your mind that you're even going to make the exam time. What do you think the chances you're going to still score a 95% on that same test? Probably not great, right? You'll hope to pass it at that point. And this is the point that I want everybody to walk away with today, is start beginning with baby steps of training your defenses, your security teams, the people themselves, and yourself on putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation and then testing. Then run that simulation. Like, how many decide to do a ransomware simulation test with your teams when things are going crazy? There's like a huge client about to leave. It's a madhouse at the office. Who goes, all right, perfect time to run a simulation. Guess what? Somebody just got email business compromised. Like, how many people do that? No, because the business would be pretty mad, unless you were like this guy. Because, you know what, it seems like when our laboratory application goes down, like 2 other applications go down all the time. At the same time. It's so weird. Like, who would do that? But I know that when my guy's sitting at his desk, my administrator, he's got a bag of pistachios or peanuts. He's got a tea or coffee. He's got his gaming headset on. He is chilling. He's got music on. When an application goes down, I know he's going to get backing up in about 5 minutes before anybody even noticed it was down. Well, let's see how fast he can do it when 3 other things go down, and then people do notice, and his phone, his Teams is getting blown up about, we can't get anything, tests aren't resulting out, what's going on? Now how fast are you going to get that application up? It started off at like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Now he's down to about 30 minutes. So that tells me it worked. His mind and body has been able to train itself to start fighting the cortisol and the adrenaline rushes and the panic, the anxiety that his body experienced the very first time. It's now able to start dealing with that stress and to start making decisions based on fundamental knowledge that he already knew, but those other elements were completely blocking it. So that's the point of the game today. So let's use our imaginations. We are no longer in this beautiful hotel. Okay, we are now on a futuristic spaceship that runs on water because even though planet Earth has been decimated by the rise of the machines, we still care about the environment. And our mission is we need to find a new planet to live on because planet Earth is gone. And the colony was like, hey, we found this planet. It has oxygen. We don't know anything else about it. We need to send a group of people down to figure out what we're going to do. And who else than those computer people? I mean, we fix all the problems anyways, right? We might as well just send those people down and see what they can do. So that's the mission. And of course, since we're computer people, our budget is $0. And so all we were given is a bottle of water, a knife, and the clothes on your back. So hopefully we'll pray to God that it is not a planet covered in ice because we're all dead in hours. All right? And we're all alone. So think about that. We will not be doing this as a group. Think of yourself as an individual. The mission, you have to survive for 3 weeks. That's it. You just got to live for 3 weeks. Easy, right? Bottle of water, a knife, your clothes. You should be good for 3 weeks. Okay? So you land on the planet. What is the very first thing you are going to have to acquire if you have any chance of surviving? You don't need a microphone. You can just shout it out. Water. Next to oxygen, water is the most essential thing our bodies need to survive. Without it, we will die. What's the second most important thing? Shelter. You need to harden yourselves from the elements. If it rains and the temperature drops and you're soaking wet, you may die of hypothermia. We don't want to die. We want to live. So shelter is extremely important. And then the third and final is food. We need to sustain the body because we're going to be busy working building that shelter. So let's pause the game. Let's get back to the boardroom. And let's talk about how this affects us at work. Well, think of water as written policies, your security framework. It's the do's and don'ts, the roles and permissions. It's everything your defense strategy needs to survive at the bare minimum. The next thing you needed was shelter. We need to harden ourselves from the elements, right? Just like our endpoints. We need to develop, whether it's in a policy or what, a baseline to harden any endpoint before it's deployed. I told you, this is not complicated. We're doing simple. But don't worry, it's coming. The third and last is evolution. That is our food. Once we develop policies, once we develop a baseline, we need to feed it. We need to maintain it. We need to look at it. Do we need to adjust it, make modifications? Nothing crazy. Okay, so congratulations. We all survived for 3 weeks. Well, not all of us. Unfortunately, some of you did die because while we were busy acquiring the basic 3 elements, some of you got bogged down with cybersecurity certifications and you didn't see the alien bear behind you. And that was me like over 6 years ago, my first role with 0 budget. And this is not meant to be a joke, but it is. I'm just kidding. Everybody survived, okay? However, this came and showed the colony an unforeseen threat. So now they're like, oh no, the computer people did it in 3 weeks, but Bob in accounting, who just spent all day watching AI-generated Kung Fu cat videos, that dude is not surviving the alien bears. He's going to die. So they were like, all right, mission number 2, because we didn't foresee this threat because we were reactive instead of proactive, we need to build a fortress. And this fortress needs to be able to house the whole colony and protect us from these alien bears who seem to be extremely hungry for human flesh. So that's what we have to do, mission 2. So before we can build the fortress, what is the very first thing we need before we can build anything? A plan. Someone over here is good. Give that table a gold star. A plan. You need to know what we're going to do, where we're going to put everything, right? Think of it like your network security, even just setting up your network. Where's your data going to be stored? In the cloud, on-premise, file server, who has access to it? All that needs to get planned out and mapped before you can really do anything. And I threw up some, zero trust architecture because you guys weren't getting away without hearing zero trust today. And if somebody else didn't say it, I was going to say it. All right. So we got the plan. What else do you need? What do you need to actually build something? Materials. Think of materials as like your endpoint integrity. You need an asset inventory. You need to harden your endpoints, mobile devices, servers. You also need to, for your applications as well. Any of those units that are like individual stones in your network, at any time one of those breaks, the whole wall can collapse. All right, the third and final. Let's see if you can get it. It's a little bit more difficult than the first two. What is the third and final thing you'll need for this fortress? Security? Oh, well, we have security. Talking about the people. That's a really good one. And what do people need to be? What do we need to do with people so they know things? Training, knowledge. A lock doesn't do any good if the person who's supposed to use the lock doesn't know how to lock it. It even does no good if they don't even know they're supposed to lock it in the first place. So the world's greatest lock is completely useless if nobody knows how to use it or when to use it. And the security awareness is not just about end users. It's not just about accounting or finance or customer service. It's also about your cybersecurity team itself. They need to be trained and conditioned for cyber threats. They need to understand that somebody who went to school for business or for nursing or got their MD, they don't know anything about computers. And it's up to our teams to kind of figure out what they're going to do through user behavior analytics, and also how are we going to prevent these things from happening in the future. And that all goes with knowledge as well, not just the ones who are using it, but the ones who are defending it. Man, what happened? I thought we were good. Now we're in trouble again. Man, these alien bears are crazy. What happened is alien bears were like, oh, these walls are huge. Now we're deterred. Now we can't eat. And then they're like, well, wait a second. Didn't these guys just flee a planet because the machines took over? What if we join up with machines and evolve ourselves, and then we can go back to eating humans again? So that's what they did. They joined up with the machines, and they created a new enemy called alien cyber bears, or I like to call them ACBs. And these ACBs move at light speed, and they are not afraid of your walls. They don't care about your gates. They don't care about how good the data was isolated or siloed. They are coming, and they are coming fast. So where did we go wrong? It seems like we thought we were being proactive, and we were coming up with a good strategy, but then we found ourselves once again back in the same old reactive situation that we've always been. So let me ask you a question. Just to throw it out there, everybody knows the answer. You just shout it back out. In any industry, any company, what is the most important asset in any company? People. That's what we're all about. Without people, there would be no business. With no business, there's no cybersecurity, and we don't have to have this conversation anymore. Same question in any organization. What is the weakest link in every single company? People. That's kind of a paradox, right? We're also the most important, but we're also the weakest. And we kind of have trouble navigating between these two. So we just got to step back and look at it from very simple, rudimentary terms, just like we kind of just did with this game. This is not a configuration problem. We keep treating it like a configuration problem. We keep treating human defense like we can just deploy a tool and, hey, tell that guy to stop being stupid. It's not going to work out. The solution involves a human. That's it. It's that simple. And that is why I wanted to focus on the human element and why I wrote my book in the first place, because it starts with us, and it starts with spreading that culture throughout our whole organization to realize you can deploy 1,000 tools, but unless one of them is bulletproof, they'd be worth $1 trillion, and I'd be working for them for sure. It's not happening. Everything is vulnerable. Everything can be exploited if it's connected to the internet or not. Who cares? So let's move on. So what did we need? Knowing this, that we didn't focus on the human element, what do we need to incorporate now to get this fortress back up and running so we don't all die? Somebody said it. People, right? We need people. So let's forge a Sentinel. So a Sentinel is not just a tool. It's not something you can necessarily buy. Well, some people are for sale. But in order to fix this is what you need. And a Sentinel isn't just some catchy phrase I threw out on ChatGPT or whatever. This was something that I really developed over the last 2 years, and I feel very strongly about, because this is what made me successful in hockey. It's what made my dad come out of a bad neighborhood in Boston and become playing in a home run derby against Detroit Tigers. It also, a lot of you will resonate with this too, because we all come from somewhere, and we got there through working hard. And we have to understand cybersecurity is not anything different. We just have to put in the time. So these are the 4 pillars of being a Sentinel. These are the 4 basic things that we will need to master in order to get on the right road of becoming a Sentinel. Number 1 is the most important, is your mentality. And the key point I want to mention there is the vigilant paranoia. The second is commitment. Without commitment, you're just going to just quit at any time. But more importantly, you need grit. And that is a bonus of when you test yourselves in uncomfortable situations, is you develop grit. And that's really one of the only ways you can develop that, is by putting yourself through some type of gauntlet, so that when you get knocked down, you get back up just as fast as you fell. The third is work ethic, my favorite. That's how I was raised. If you outwork everybody around you, you will be the best at whatever you want to do. Does not always work out, thanks, Dad, but I'm not giving up on it. And the fourth and final is strategy. Those first things are all great, but when you can't put it together and get a bird's eye view of what you're trying to accomplish, you're going to become an underachiever. But we want to be overachievers. So let's look a little bit into mentality and vigilant paranoia. And this is really where you're looking for bad things, like tools do. We should be looking for the wrong things. So take an example. Somebody's logging in on Friday late afternoon, and a tool's like, oh, he put in his password, he had MFA, everything's good to go, carry on. A human, though, knows, like, oh, wait a second. Isn't Jack golfing right now? How is he logging in if he's on the golf course? See, a tool wouldn't know that unless it was told that Jack was golfing. Only a human would know that. So how would you even find out unless a human was looking or reviewing those logs? Instead of just waiting for that little box to turn green in a dashboard or to go red, they should be looking for the absence of normal. Commitment. This is really about resilience over redundancy. Tools fails, but our commitment doesn't waver. So what happens when the adrenaline rush of the spaceship crash wears off and the grind sets in? How many really are going to truly fight to survive without commitment? And the pillar 3, work ethic. The pursuit of mastery. That's kind of like, I'm a perfectionist, so this is actually the real reason why I love this one, is because I am so hard on myself and I abuse myself really bad that I would never say the things other people that I say to myself. But also at the same time, I feel like if you want to master something really fast, that's what it takes. You got to work really hard, and you got to be tough and honest with yourself. And you got to understand the 24 mindset. Like, hackers don't take breaks, right? They don't take holidays. In fact, it's not coincidental that during holiday seasons, threat attacks go up by 300 to 600% on purpose. It's not because they're like, oh, let's have Christmas dinner, though. They know everybody's going to be scrambling to finish deadlines before they go on holiday break, before they take their vacations. They know the last thing you're thinking about is getting attacked because you're just trying to get that deadline so you can go have dinner. The gossip from you know what, cousin Jenny, who started posting on her Facebook and she no longer has her wedding ring on and nobody knows why, that drama's already started a week before Christmas dinner, right? And that's what everybody's talking about. We're not talking about what's about to happen when we're all quiet, we shut our phones off. And that's why our work ethic is so important, because you need to stay diligent up to the final time. Every minute you spend at work or logged in, you're getting paid, you should be doing some type of due diligence or proactive threat hunting to look, where could they hit us? We're going on Christmas break. We know somebody's going to do something. Somebody's going to be like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. And they're just going to start opening up emails, click on something. It happens, right? I don't need to remind you all. You're all experts. You all do this every day too. The last 4 strategy. Anybody served in the military? Awesome. Thank you for your service. This was something I really like because when I was a kid, I actually wanted to be a fighter pilot. Top Gun was my favorite movie, and I wanted to be Maverick. And so when I went down this journey of writing the book, and I started really reading about 42nd Boyd, I was like, how awesome is this? How awesome I can take something from a fighter pilot and incorporate it into cybersecurity. And the funny thing is when I started reading about it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is how I played hockey defense. I wasn't trying to be talented. I was just trying to make my opponent so irritated and so frustrated, they didn't even want to try to play anymore. In fact, when I walked into the hockey rink, I wanted to hear sighs, like, oh my God, we got to play about this guy, okay? Because it wasn't just about me being good at defense. My mouth let them know I was good at defense. And I attacked at all angles at all times. And so later in the game, when I see a player switching sides, he's no longer playing left wing, he's playing right wing, I knew I'm doing my job. He's like, you know what, forget this. I don't want to play against him anymore. I'm going to switch. That's how I know I'm doing good. And the point of it is really the goal is to make a decision a lot faster than your opponent, but also you orchestrate your defense and offense in the same way that you're disorienting their decision making. You want to try to distract them or throw them off their game, like throwing an insult or doing something that they don't expect, and it takes their mind off of their own strategy that they know is going to beat you. But because you were able to get them off for about 2 seconds, that gave you the time you needed to disrupt and throw their whole game plan down the drain. And so the OODA loop is really important to study from a cybersecurity defender because you have to treat your defenses just like that uncharted planet. You got alien bears out, so what do you do when you have a bear? Just go hunting. And it's time to turn that battleground or your network into a hunting ground. And nobody knows it as good as you do. There's no way a threat actor should know your network better than you do. There's no excuse for that. You should know it like the back of your hand, and you should know how to combat and fight in your own network. All right. I told you we weren't going to get away from talking about AI. Because the alien cyber bears, or the ACBs, they joined up with the machines. And because they're moving so fast, we have to realize that humans were meant to do things, and there's things humans were not meant to do. Humans were not meant to digest and analyze 1 billion lines of code in 2 seconds. That's not something we were meant to do. We're not meant to analyze thousands of logs in Event Viewer and go, oh, crap, here's how they got in. That's not what we were meant to do. What we are meant to be is the compass. And I don't mean that just from guiding a machine, but also from an ethical and moral standpoint as well. AI doesn't have a Bible. It doesn't have a constitution. It doesn't have a parliament. It doesn't have any of those ethical laws built into their DNA like humans do. We all have some type of moral code. And the machine is just an engine. It's not good. It's not evil. The outcome of its actions depend really on us. And I think it's important for us to understand that. So, how can we use that? Well, we're going to get into it a little bit, but we kind of saw some cool stuff from a couple of speakers before, but I like to call it the Centaur. I did not create that. That actually came from chess. Chess is actually another inspirational for this book because in 3rd grade, I got in trouble, believe it or not, in a computer lab, believe it or not, and my punishment was to serve in the chess club as a tutor. And that was my punishment. They were like, if you serve out the rest of the school year, helping out chess club, we'll just let it go. So I did. And turns out I actually really liked chess. And nobody in there actually spoke a lot of English. It was mostly students that were on some type of study abroad, or they were foreign exchange students, or they just moved here from Japan. And it was a very different experience for me, but it was amazing because I got to see how different countries and cultures approach problems from a logical perspective than maybe Americans do. And I got to see different sides of how to play chess. And I started really liking chess, and I became a chess nerd. And I actually play chess on my phone still, and I'm trying to beat the computer in hard mode. And I have not done it. But I came close. But I always mess it up because I'm a dumb human. But the Centaur is actually something kind of broken out of chess. And that is when, instead of replacing humans with AI, like the boardroom wants us to do to save money on costs, even though AI costs like 10 times what the labor did, but whatever. It's actually joining together in a relationship so that we're taking the human things and leaving it to humans, but we're offloading things that machines are really good at and letting the machine do its thing under our guidance. Think about prompting. You can sit there and prompt all day long, but AI isn't going to know your problem. Only you do. It's going to give you a context of what it thinks the problem is, but it's not actually thinking. It's just like a bunch of Python scripts scraping the internet and putting it together. There's some intelligence, but it's not, a human mind. AI also cannot replace human intuition, gut feelings. I thought that was like crazy talk, but I didn't know there was actually scientific studies on what a gut feeling actually is, and there's actually a science to how those are created in our bodies. And I do talk about it in my book a little bit, and that's called somatic markers. And it's almost like a life experience or a memory, and a micro segment of that gets embedded in your brain that when you get put into a situation that maybe makes you uncomfortable, it triggers that, and then you get that gut feeling. There's no way AI can ever reproduce that. And I know there's a lot of people in here who have made a decision solely based on a gut feeling, and it completely worked out. And there's some that it didn't work out. It was like, oh, that was a terrible gut feeling. You let me down, body. I just want to stress that. And we can't keep making AI tools to try to replicate humans. It's a waste of our time. It doesn't actually help us at all. It's supposed to help us propel our own innovations, but it can't do that if we're trying to teach it how to read the context of a PDF file. Like, oh, well, this is what the human meant. No, stupid, just tell me what number 3 says, okay? And that's where our time should be at. We should be focusing on letting that tool do things it can do. So for like the medical environment that I'm in, one thing I don't like is when you go to the doctor, he's like, what are your symptoms? It's like, I don't know. Head hurts. I'm dizzy. Whatever. Oh my gosh, we need to go to a cardiologist. We need to get you some more testing. It's like going to your mechanic, and they're like, oh, well, what's wrong with your car? I don't know. It's making a noise. I was like, that's your job. You tell me. And when you go to the doctor, well, how cool it would be, maybe that's somewhere AI can do, where we start developing medical devices now that starts looking for triggers or things in your body instead of relying on a patient to tell you what their symptoms are. Maybe they were dizzy because they just stood up too fast and it has absolutely nothing to do with their ailment. But that symptom now just got prescribed in a doctor's note, and now it's creating a completely different diagnosis than it could if you didn't say anything about dizziness at all. And it's kind of like, well, that's kind of scary because I'm not a doctor, so I don't feel like I should be telling a doctor how I feel. Like, you tell me how I feel, All right, so this is the homework. This is what I want everybody to do in the next 30 days. If you don't want to do it, that's cool. Be a cool kid, be a rebel. But day 1, I want you to audit your water. I want you to go back through your policies, and I want you to see from like a compliance standpoint or a security standpoint, where do your policies fail? Are you actually addressing everything that your team needs to know or needs to do whenever there is an incident? Day 7, I want you to start reinforcing the shelter. This is something that people always look at me crazy, but I have, in my experience, using like an EDR tool that likes to claim it can do everything known to man and stops everything before it happens. How do you actually know unless you do it manually? How do you know that tool actually does what it says it is unless you're able to actually perform the steps manually so you can even evaluate how the tool is supposed to respond? That is something that we all need to start thinking about before we just start blindly trusting things. So go to a server, manually harden it, test it, go through those motions that a tool would do and see whether or not that tool actually is checking off all the boxes and not just putting faith or trusting, well, we're good. I'm deployed CrowdStrike. We're good. I don't got to worry about nothing now. We should test it. Day 15, getting near the middle of the month, I want you to go through your team's workflows and find one manual task that absolutely sucks, that your team hates doing, and find a way if you can automate it. And maybe you can't, but maybe there's a number 2 task that you can automate. And what that's going to help with is it's going to take things like that away from your team that they're spending time on, again, on things that humans were not meant to do, and it allows them to be a sentinel. It allows them to free them up to start doing other things that humans are really good at. And day 30, you need to forge the team. Start having conversations with your team about, hey, look, we're going to start testing you when you're not ready. Like, we're going to put you in some uncomfortable situations, and then we're going to start doing some testing. All right, before we get to questions, I just want to say that, one of the things I appreciate about growing up in the year that I did is we kind of had the analog world still. I still went to Blockbuster and got AOL disk to get dial-up internet. My dad and mom knew nothing about computers. They knew nothing about the internet. So they did nothing to prepare myself for the internet. We found that out on ourselves. And while it worked out, we went to a lot of inappropriate things online. It worked out in some way. But today is different because it's not just us now navigating and looking at things. Now we have an entity out there telling us what we should be looking at or what we should be thinking. And so what I want to take away with is about AI is that we do have the obligation, and it's not just about protecting computers or networks, it's about protecting our families too. We are the generation who's implementing AI. That we're the ones doing it, nobody else. I didn't implement the internet, so I can blame somebody else. But I am part of who's implementing AI, and we need to make sure we're doing it with an ethical and moral responsibility, not just for business, not just to protect a computer, not just to make our lives easier, to like, hey, tell me how to cook this, or write this email for me because I don't care. Just send it away. Okay, we need to understand that everything we do now is being recorded and observed, and it's shaping some type of synthetic machine that thinks it's a human or is trying to be a human. And so I hope you all take that to heart, and I hope you all go forth and forge sentinels within your own organizations. Thanks. So. All right, I guess we got time for questions. No questions. Yeah, that's amazing. So there is going to be, I think, we got one in the back. Do I still play hockey? No, I just skate, though. I skate about anywhere from 12 to 16 miles every other night. Huh? Oh, that's not, yeah, right? I wish it was ice. No. I got kids, I can't play hockey. I'm going to not be able to walk for 3 days. I'm like, Dad, play with me. Like, I can't get off the couch.
Hi, I'm Ramesh. The last section that you said regarding the 30th day one, replacing the human, not replacing the human intuition, but most of the companies, I am thinking because of the AI, they wanted to replace the human intention or intuition to the machine intuition.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think there's something
by replacing humans.
Yeah, they're trying to replace humans. And then I know some companies have already admitted it was a mistake when they did it. And it will happen to some degree. Like, there will be some jobs that don't exist. Like, and I tell my daughter that. Like, when you're graduating high school, there's jobs today that will not exist when you graduate. But it's also important to know that, there's a lot of other things humans or machines can't do. And that there is something I do want to point out, too, is like something that I thought was very interesting I heard last year is where I guess the next rebranding of marketing is hallucinations. Because AI hallucinates and we're trying to fix it or stop it. Well, what's going to stop companies from calling that hallucination creativity? They're like, oh, well, the model's, it's its own creative mind, and it's really just a hallucination, and they're blaming glitches on, human synthesized creativity. So that's a thought. Any more questions?
Going back to the fighting against the bears, so you make the hunting ground Do you find that, okay, is that a lot of honeypots? What exactly, how do you stop those bears? And secondarily to that, do you think that AI should be part of these governance programs for finding 0 days in your network, not just for pen testing and whatever, but instead of an antivirus, you have a new program that's just there to 0-day your network, and it's an AI that's doing that. Anthropic had a paper on that last month. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's great. So for the first question is like, when you're talking about threat hunting, yeah, it's a little bit more than just pen testing, because in vulnerability management, you can wrap it under one, but if you're going through your own network, and you should kind of know how, if I was a hacker and this place pissed me off, I know exactly how I'm taking it down. And that's, hunting bears. You are the bear at that point. And it's like, well, how am I going to go eat? Where am I going to go to eat? I was like, oh, well, I can just go over here. Done. And then it's like, okay, but now you have to defend it. It's like, oh, crap, I shouldn't have found it because now I have to fix it. The second part is that's really interesting because, yeah, you're thinking about how advanced AI is getting with like writing exploits and that automated pen testing, but what if it is being able to create a 0-day on the spot? That'd be amazing, right? Because it would take jobs out of the ransomware gangs because like, yeah, we knew about that 0-day like last year, but we didn't disclose it, but it's fixed. Good luck. So no, that's a really cool point, and thank you for pointing that out because that's a really cool conversation to have.
Hello. You discussed tool traps. So my question is, what do you think about the AI agentic tools and how the growth of it, and is that a trap that we have to continue to look at?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're repeating the mistake. Again, we're trying to make AI be a human, and that's like, why? Maybe we should focus on creating a machine language infrastructure where AI doesn't need to act like a human. It doesn't need to log into a GUI as a human and do things. It's able to access data on a different level. And I know there's things going on right now about creating like a secondary internet where AI will use a different internet, so it's pulling the JSON or XML and reading the data. And I think that is a more efficient way to use AI in the future, and that'll also benefit us too, because again, we're taking the context out of things. OCR technology is fantastic, but it's not bulletproof again. It makes mistakes. And if you log in, you're still going to have a human go in behind and verify. And I know a lot of companies are not going to do that, and that's the scary part. They don't understand, like, yeah, you have a tool and it automated, you save some efficiency, but you still have to audit what that tool is doing. It's still a tool, it's not a person. And we have to do that with people too, because we make mistakes. So yeah, I do feel that is going to be kind of another trap. It just looks cooler and sounds better. But yeah, it's going to be another part of our infrastructure that's not being properly audited or monitored. All right, well, I'll be out there. My LinkedIn is down there. That's the QR code in my book. So, if you have any other questions, you can't think of it, just catch me outside. I'll be here all day. Thank you.